Welcome back, Kings and Queens, and welcome if you're new here. My name is Hope King, and I'm the designer behind King's Designs MD. You see my hand shadow. Today, I just wanted to show you guys how I made this tote bag. This tote bag was made out of a Dollar Tree pillowcase. I had the day off. I was playing with an idea. This original one is not perfect by any means, but I just wanted to show you guys how you can accomplish this or something like this. So I am one-handed recording right now, but Dollar Tree pillowcase. All I did was open this pillowcase up and I cut it down to the size I wanted. I realized that Dollar Tree pillowcase, like you all know, is made out of polyester. It should be on here somewhere, polyester. Even though it's a satin, so it can be sublimated. So I'll show you what I did. Okay, so it's made out of the Dollar Tree pillowcase. So I am taking the pillowcase out of the packaging. And what I did, I opened it up. And I basically flipped it over. I cut off the two outer edges. So you can see that when this pillowcase opens up, it has lines on it. So I'm trying to get it as far as I can back. It has lines on it. So I cut off the first line and I cut off the last line. The next thing I did was I went down 2 lines and I cut it all the way across here. So when you get done, you'll probably have something that is, let's see how long it should measure, about 13 inches this way and about 14 inches this way. So we just want to make sure we have that square to start working with. Now, what you're going to do once you cut this edge all the way off, and cut that off first because we're going to use that for our straps. Okay, so I have my edges cut off. This is the top of the pillowcase, and so I'm going to flip it sideways so that the this portion, the fold over portion, is going to be on my left, and then I will cut this part off, which is the middle seam. Like I told you, it should be about 13 by 14 when you're done. Now that I have my fabric cut down to size, I am going to press this out just to get the wrinkles out. I really didn't do this the first time, but I'm going to try to do it right for you guys. I really just want to get the wrinkles out because I'm getting ready to sublimate this. And one thing I noticed the first time, I printed my image on high quality, and I started noticing a distinct difference in how my images come out when it's high quality versus just the standard way, my printer was printing it before. It really makes a difference. Alright, so I'm measuring this out for you guys so you can see that this is the 14 inches going a long ways. So this should be about 13 inches going this way. So you want the 14 inches going across. That gives you more of the rectangle shape on your tote bag. I also want to show you the difference in sublimating. So this is when I printed it as high quality, and this was when I printed it as regular. So you can see how much better it is. But what happened was when I went to sublimate it, it basically went through my, it went through everything and got on the other side of my fabric. So I want to prevent you guys from going through that. So put your heat pad in between it if you can. Just protect the back of your image. I'm actually going to put parchment paper underneath. I didn't have any issues with any blowback or whatever people call it on the outside of my image, but I definitely had, oh God, what am I doing here? Talking and trying to do things. So, put your parchment paper down so you don't get any everything there. I'm not doing a new technique. I was just confusing myself because I was talking. I'm going to tape my parchment paper down because it's rolling. And I just don't want it to roll away on me. Alright. I'm going to try to get that smooth down as possible. I want to get my image in place and try to get that as straight as possible because as you can see, I am doing this prior to sewing the image, which can affect how straight it looks. Okay, so you want to put parchment paper over the top, and you can also tape it down so that it doesn't move on you. If you're concerned about your placement, you don't have to sublimate it now. You could wait until the end and sublimate it, but this is the way that I did it, so I'm just showing you. So I'm just going to put some heat tape on, just to try to keep it in place. Now, if the whole fabric moves, it's not that big of a deal. You just really don't want your image moving on the fabric because then you'll get ghosting on your image. Alright, so it's all taped down. My heat press is warming up, and I'm getting ready to press it. If anything looks off with your fabric, you can always square it up at your sewing table. So just be mindful of that. But again, if you don't want to press it now, you don't have to. You can wait till the end and press it. I'm pressing this 400 degrees for 60 seconds. Alright, so this is pressing and it's about to come off. 400 degrees, 60 seconds. That seems to be pretty much the standard thing for sublimation, standard recipe for sublimation. So we're just going to pull that off. And you see how pretty and vibrant that is. So that's all pressed. I'm going to give it a minute to cool down, and then I'm going to take it over to my sewing table. Alright, now I'm at my sewing table. Now, this is not best practice, but this is honestly what I did. I had some quilted cotton or quilter's cotton. Actually, this is heavyweight cotton. Excuse me, I'm getting tired now. It's late. But I just laid it on top of my fabric, and I sewed it all the way around. Now, you can cut your pieces out to be the exact match of your fabric, and then you can pin them together. That's really the best way to do it. Even if you want to pin it, you can then pin it and cut it down. But that way, everything will line up perfectly for you. So I'm just going to pin my stuff. Again, this is not something I typically do. And I have these teeny little pins, y'all. I bought these pins by accident. They were cute, and I got enamored by the pearl heads on them, and then I did not realize how tiny they were when I bought them. So I'm just pinning all the way around, and then I will cut that down and be back. Alright, so my fabric is cut down for the most part, and now I'm just going to stitch all the way around, but I'm going to leave the top open. Sorry guys, I just want to show you me stitching it all the way around. I'm going to make sure you back stitch. Somebody in my neighborhood got their alarm gone off. Now, if I didn't say it, just make sure you have your right sides together. So you should be stitching on the wrong side of the fabric. So this would be the inside. And I'm just get to the end. I hope you can see. Just keep your needle down, and you can pivot your fabric. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm sewing the top part. And when I say leave it open, you just want to leave a portion open so you can pull it through. Now, I would tell you my tips for this would be, if you have a better quality satin or polyester material, use the better quality, because Dollar Tree pillowcases can snag and it can mess up your project. So just be mindful of that. Also, you could do a drop-in lining. So you could sew the whole outside of the white part, sew the whole outside of the blue part, stuff it in, and then it would have a better seams on the inside. Alright, now once you have it sewn all the way around, you can, because you left this little inside part, you can flip it inside out or right side out. Make sure you press all of your corners out. And just be careful, you don't want to snag anything, because again, this fabric is sensitive. Now, you have basically what looks like a long, would be a long tube. You're just going to put these two ends together and stitch all the way down. I will tell you, if you have any issues with your bag not looking even, start stitching from the top and go down, because you can always even it up at the bottom. So we're just going to stitch along the sides and down the bottom. Alright, so you should end up with something like this, looking like this. This was the open edge that we just sewed together. This side was still folded together, but I sewed it just so to give the bag some structure. And then your bottom, which was also an open edge that we folded together. If you decide to do a drop-in bag, you won't have to worry about any of this showing on the inside of your bag, because it'll be drop-in style and you won't see it at all. But because all of this was pre-sewn together, it should not be unraveling on the inside of your bag like just a regular sewn edge would do. So I'm going to take the bottom corner of my bag, and I am pulling it apart by hand so I can get my separate pieces. You can even put your hand inside the bag, but you want to make your bag form a triangle. So I'm trying to do this holding it up, but you want it to form a triangle in your hand. So see how it comes to a point? So you want it to be to a point, and I'm going to just use my machine at the 3-inch line as my guide. So the tip of my fabric is sitting on my number 3 here, and I'm just going to use that to sew straight across. But you have to make sure these pieces are flat. So make sure it's all flat in a triangle, and put it on the number 3. I will tell you, sew slowly and back stitch, because this is a lot of fabric to sew through. And we're going to do the same thing. That's what it should look like on the other side. And then once you do it on both sides, you just cut that off using a better pair of scissors than I'm using. And I'll come back and show you what it will look like on the outside. Now, because we cut this off, you may have edges that will potentially unravel. You can either use a liquid called Fray Check here, or you can flip this to your zigzag stitch. Some people use overlockers. I do have a serger or overlocker. I don't particularly like to use it, so just put in a zigzag stitch, and it should stop your edges from fraying. If you're concerned, you run it back so you can get a tighter finish on it, and then that way, once you trim everything off, that way it kind of locks your stitches in, so it shouldn't be fraying and everything on you when you're done. And of course, you can use a matching thread, and then you won't have to worry about the white sitting on the blue and what that would look like. Alright, so we got all that done. I still have a little opening at the top. I will tell you guys, snip all your loose threads as you're going along, because it just helps to have a good finished image, a good finished product at the end. Not having a bunch of loose threads, but you're less likely to miss them if you do it as you go along. And then you can always do a good lint roll as well. Okay. So, now that you have done your ends, you have something that looks like this. So, remember I told you in the beginning, don't throw the other pieces away. and I'm dropping stuff, but these were your fabric strips. These fabric strips will now become your straps. So this one long piece, I'm going to put that in half, and these are going to be your two straps. So you can cut this in half now, and then we're going to fold this so it becomes your individual straps. Okay, so this is cut in half. I just cut mine in half. Now, what you're going to notice is these already have seams in them. So, if you don't want to use this, you still have pieces from your original left that you could use to sew with. You don't have to use these pieces. They're almost the same length from this piece. So if you wanted to use this piece instead of that, or just cut a whole new pillowcase, you know, do whatever works for you. But I just wanted to show you because this already is going to have a seam in it. So when you're sewing, you're going to have to work around this seam. Okay, so what you want to do is, if you can see, you want to fold each side towards the middle. So you have this opened up, one side towards the middle, the other side towards the middle, and then you want to fold it so it looks like that. Then we're going to pin it and sew it. Alright, so I have my fabric pinned and now I'm going to sew. I also want to tell you, be careful about pinning this fabric. I told you this fabric is sensitive, so just be careful and be mindful because you don't want to snag it with your pins or leave big holes. If you have fabric clips, you can clip it and make sure you set your machine back to straight stitch for this part. So I'm stitching down this side. Then I'm going to flip it over and stitch down the other side, so it should be down one side and the other side. Now, if you're working with your strips, you'll notice that your ends, you might have to open your ends up because they were originally folded to be closed for the pillowcase. So you can open them so that you can just sew it back up. Again, if you use the other piece, you don't have to worry about these steps. Or if you just use plain satin or polyester fabric, you don't have to worry about this part. Alright, so now you have your straps, and you can see that these ends are unfinished. If you want, you can fold those down so that when you put them inside, there'll be a clean finished end on the inside. But what I'm going to do first, the end that's open, I just want to pin this down so that when we stitch around, it can get closed in. So you just want to pin this down because we're going to do a top stitch all around the top of the bag, and this will allow for this small opening to become closed. Just go all the way and get that tucked in. And then the next thing we're going to do is the straps. And I don't know why I'm struggling with this end, but I'll get it right. Next thing I'm going to do is put the straps on. Now my bag measures about 12 inches long, so I'm going to put the straps at 4 inches and 8 inches. That should get it to be pretty centered for you. So I'm just going to pin it down at 4 inches, and I'm going to pin it down at 8 inches. Just loop that around and pin it down at 8 inches. Again, I honestly recommend you folding this down, this strap piece, folding that down and sewing that before you pin it. Another alternative, which is what I'm going to do, is if you choose not to sew your strap edges down because you're worried about losing the length, you can just do that overlock stitch again. That should stop it from unraveling. It's not going to be as pretty on the inside if someone were to look in and see it, but at least it's going to keep your bag from unraveling. It's going to keep your bag from unraveling on you over time. Alright, now that we have our bag pinned down, what we want to do, that's my heat press, what we want to do is just fold it down about 1/2 inch, and we're going to sew all the way around. Now be careful because you do have your pin on the inside, so you can repin all the way around if you'd like. I told you I don't pin very much, but don't be like me. Pin, especially if you're just starting sewing, because it definitely helps to keep things in place and it reduces your frustration. So pin it down about a 1/2 inch all the way around, and then we're going to top stitch this all the way around and we're done. Okay, so I have my bag pinned. Now I'm going to take my little arm off here. Be careful with your pins and your straps as you go around, because depending on how you pinned it, you may still have pins on the inside. You can pull those out now. If you have pins on the outside, you might not need them. This is a time that if your bag is not even, you can even it out at this point, because if anything's off at the top, you can just fix it as you're pinning it down to make it look more even. So I'm just going to start back stitch, and I'm going all the way around, and we're done. Now take your time going over these side seams, because they can be a little bulky, and I don't want you breaking any needles. Now again, I keep talking about the drop-in method because I do think that's a better method for giving you a finished bag. But if you just want a quick bag that you can do and have something that's cute, you can do this in any style and get away with it in probably an hour before an event or wherever you're going. So there you have it, a cute little quick bag that you can make and take. I hope this helps somebody. If you guys like this video, let me know. I would like to do more sewing videos and teach you guys some new things. So I hope this helps somebody. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't have anything meaningful to say, just drop a crown in the comment box so I know you were here. Have a good day.